Hey scholars, here's one of the follow-up videos about the graphic organizer like I promised for Wednesday, May 13th. So this video will show you, or kind of give you an idea of how your graphic organizer should look if you're writing an informative paragraph. If you're doing any sort of informative writing, this video will help you get an idea of maybe how your graphic organizer should look and where you can get some information. First and foremost, I mentioned in the main video for today that I'll be writing each of the different types in a different color. Informative, I wrote informative in blue. I wrote informative in blue. So if you're watching this, it'd be a good idea to say, I watched the video that had blue, so I know that you've watched the video and have an idea of how your graphic organizer should look, okay? Our topic, of course, is life on the frontier, and everyone has picked their own method for how they should write about this. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how it should look if you chose informative writing. I'm going to move these clips down a little bit for the first part. So, first, they had to find or catch their food. People who lived on the frontier or traveled through the frontier had to find or catch their own food. They couldn't go to the store, right? This was one of the skills that they talked about in the 6th read aloud, which was on Monday, May 6th. So if you're wondering, where can I get some good information on people who lived in the frontier, go to the read aloud for Monday, May 6th, and that should have the details you need. So that was a skill Lewis and Clark especially wanted, people who knew how to find and catch their own food. The second thing they needed, they had to know how to communicate with Native Americans. They had to know how to communicate with Native Americans. Now you're probably thinking this is just exclusive to Lewis and Clark, right? But also think about Daniel Boone, right? Think about how he got through the Cumberland Gap and how he made the Wilderness Road. So no matter who is traveling through the wilderness at this point in history, a lot of Native Americans still live there. So you need a way to communicate with them. You need a way to make your thoughts known. So first they had to find or catch their own food. Second, they had to know how to communicate with Native Americans. Now, what was the last thing that they needed? What was this last thing that they needed? Third, they had to know how to find or make shelter. They had to know how to find or make shelter. Again, this is the wilderness. There's not an abundance of houses everywhere. So they have to know how to find or make shelter. So these are some facts about people who spent their life on the frontier, who spent their life exploring the frontier. So these are facts that you can put in your informative writing. If you don't necessarily like these facts, again, you can go back to the 6th read aloud, which talked about Lewis and Clark in great detail. If you're thinking you want to write informative about one specific person, maybe go back to that about Lewis and Clark. If you're thinking you want to write about Daniel Boone, go back to the first 2 read alouds, okay? I know this is a lot to be throwing at you, but if you want to do informative writing, you need to make sure you write 3 facts about life on the American frontier. And you're going to present these 3 facts to inform your family members and myself about life on the frontier. So, informative in blue. If you have any questions about how this graphic organizer should look, just shoot me a text message, okay? So, one more time. Here is my graphic organizer. I'm going to bring it, here's my completed graphic organizer for an informative paragraph about life on the frontier. Bye.